Getting engaged has ruined my relationship. My partner and I have been together for nearly 6 years. He has honestly been the most amazing, wonderful and supportive person in my life. He doesn't just make me happier, he makes me healthier. He's been absolutely fantastic in every way imaginable. About 2 years ago, we had the big marriage talk. We were both honest about what we wanted. He admitted that getting married made him so nervous. He has literally never seen a successful marriage. Every marriage he's ever witnessed has either ended in disastrous divorce or very sad premature death. I said I would stay with him whatever he chose, but there are some things I wouldn't do unless we were married. Just as he's seen too many marriages fail, I've seen too many loved ones be abandoned by men once the kids come along or when he finds a better option. In other words, as long as we weren't married, no kids and our finances remained strictly untangled from each other. He proposed to me a few months after that, and since then, he's turned into an absolute nightmare. First, he refuses to do anything wedding related but accuses me of taking over and being a bridezilla when I make decisions without him. He does things behind my back like inviting our friend who has 4 kids to bring the children when we agreed the only exception to the no kids rule would be my niece, who will be 3 months old and for obvious reasons can't be separated from my sister for the weekend. I can swallow that frustration, but he's also become hypercritical. Any mess around the house, even if he made it, if I haven't cleaned it up by the time he gets home, he refuses to talk to me. I work from home, so I usually do a lot of the chores like the dishwasher in my lunch break, but sometimes I don't have time. This is a busy time of year, and while my job is usually constrained to the 9 to 5, in the last few weeks I've had to work until 8 or 9. When he stormed in last night angry that he had to clean the kitchen and I pointed out I'd been working for 12 hours straight, he looked me in the eyes and said so. He's threatened to throw me out the house and call off the engagement 4 times. He's stopped initiating intimacy. I've come to dread the sound of the door unlocking because he can't go 5 minutes without finding a problem to have with me. It's so bad that my mother, who was ready to adopt him a year ago, is refusing to be the witness that signs our marriage certificate. I've asked to call off the wedding, go back to being just girlfriend and boyfriend, but he says he really does want to get married and he's just doing all of this to make sure he's making the right choice. Increasingly though, all he's done is convince me I'm making the wrong one. Edit to add, if it wasn't clear, I'd already decided not to marry him when I made this post. I'm packing up and going to my mum's for now. I'm safe and don't need anyone to call the cops. Thanks to the person who offered though. My girlfriend made fun of my speech impediment. I was left broken and now don't know what to do. As you can tell from the title, I have a speech impediment. I have a stutter and always have ever since I could talk. It was way worse when I was younger but has got better. I wouldn't stutter unless if I was nervous or overly excited, but normally I would block 1 or 2 times depending of the range of the sentence. Now that I've said that, I'll get back to the title. Later today around 5 p.m. me and my girlfriend went out for the rest of the day. She was drinking but I wasn't, as I am still in university and I'm afraid to get drunk and do something stupid, so I just asked for some soft drinks like a Coke. A few drinks in, she met some people at the pub and got along with them. I just said hello to them and asked about them, but that's really it, and was just watching football on the TV. Anyway, she was joking around with them and then started talking about me. I wasn't really paying attention to any of it until she told them I had a stutter. I was shocked by this, as I had always told her I wasn't comfortable letting people know I have a stutter if I don't know them. She then started making fun of my stutter, mocking me and telling me to talk so they could hear it. My mind went blank and I didn't know what to do. In primary and secondary school, people made fun of it because of me. I didn't do anything as I was embarrassed, and telling on them wouldn't change anything, but it still hurt me a lot and would affect my self-esteem badly. My girlfriend knows of this and knows what I went through and said she would always be there for me. Anyways, hearing her make fun of me felt like a stab to the heart. I didn't know what happened to me, but everything went blurry and it was like I couldn't hear anything except from my girlfriend and the people she met. I managed to ask her, "Are you serious?" and all she did was laugh and asked if I was going to cry about it. I didn't know what to do. After 5 minutes of thinking to myself, trying to regather my thoughts, I paid for my drinks, not hers, and gave the bartender a tip. She said she heard what happened and was sorry I had to go through that. I said, "Thank you," and left. Not knowing what to do, I went back to my flat and sat down thinking to myself. I put my phone down and was flooded with notifications from my girlfriend asking where I went and if I was okay. She didn't even apologize for what she did. We don't live in the same place, as we've only been together for a little under a year, but still we spent all of our free time together. 10 minutes later I heard knocking on my door and it was my girlfriend. She said she was sorry and she didn't mean it and blamed it on the fact that she wasn't drunk. 5 minutes of knocking and apologizing, she realized that I wasn't going to reply back or even open the door, so she left. She knew I was there, as my neighbor who I was good friends with let her know I looked upset and that she should check up on me. It's now midnight and I still don't know what to do with myself. She keeps flooding my phone with missed calls, voicemails and texts saying how she regrets making fun of me. I want to be able to forgive her as I normally did that back in school, but this time I couldn't. This time I felt betrayed and felt like I was stabbed in the heart by the one person who would never make fun of me. I still care about her and still love her, but I don't think I can ever forgive her and now realize how she can make fun of me whenever she wants if we get into an argument now that she has done this. I'm hurt by this, but at the same time I don't want to break up, but will never be able to forgive her. I don't think she has told anyone about this as no one else has texted me. I'm laying in my bed making this post and trying to cry myself to sleep. I don't know what to do and I'm seeking advice. My girlfriend sold my insulin to buy a designer bag. I always thought love meant making sacrifices. But I never imagined I would end up in this situation. It all started when Emma, my girlfriend, and I moved into our first apartment together. We were young, excited, and, like most people our age, broke. My girlfriend and I were so broke that we ended up sharing a frozen pizza for dinner. Despite the simplicity of the meal, it turned out to be one of the best days we've ever had. We sat on the floor of our tiny apartment, laughing about our situation and enjoying each other's company. The cheap pizza became a symbol of our love and resilience. We didn't need fancy dinners or expensive outings, just being together, sharing a meal, and appreciating the moment made us feel rich in our own special way. It was a day filled with warmth and love. On the other hand, Emma had always had a taste for the finer things in life, and I tried my best to indulge her whenever I could, even though I had my own needs to consider. Our finances were tight, but I made sure to budget carefully. I wanted to surprise my girlfriend with a vacation at the end of the year, so I saved up diligently. I cut corners wherever I could, even skipping meals at work, or walking instead taking the bus. Every penny mattered, and I was determined to make it happen. The thought of seeing her face light up with joy kept me motivated. Emma, on the other hand, had a more carefree approach to money. She worked part-time at a boutique, and though her income wasn't substantial, she often spent it on small luxuries. We argued a lot recently about her spending habits, but we always managed to find a middle ground. Or so I thought. One evening, after a particularly long day at work, I came home to find Emma beaming with excitement. Her eyes sparkled as she showed off a sleek, new designer handbag, the kind that usually cost more than a month's rent. My stomach sank. I knew we couldn't afford something like that, and I wondered how she had managed to buy it. "How did you afford this?" I asked, trying to mask my concern with curiosity. She hesitated for a moment, then shrugged, brushing off the question. I had some extra money saved up. But her tone didn't convince me. Something felt off. It wasn't until later that night, when I went to grab a syringe from the cabinet, that I realized what had happened. The box was gone. All of it. I frantically searched the apartment, hoping I had misplaced it, but deep down, I knew the truth. I confronted Emma. "Where is my insulin?" She looked at me, guilt flashing across her face for just a moment. "I sold them," she admitted, crossing her arms. "I needed money for the bag. Besides, you can get more, can't you?" I was speechless. My mind raced as I tried to comprehend the situation. The syringes weren't just some disposable item, they were essential for my survival. "You sold my medical supplies for a handbag?" Emma rolled her eyes. "Come on, it's not like you're going to die or anything. Just man up and figure it out. We can get more next month." Her words stung. She was treating this like it was some minor inconvenience, not a matter of life and death. I couldn't believe it. The woman I loved, the person I thought understood me, was dismissing my needs so casually. "I can't just wait until next month," I snapped, frustration and desperation lacing my words. "I need those supplies now. How could you do this?" Emma's expression softened for a moment, but then she shrugged again, her eyes hardening. "I wanted the bag," she said simply, as if that explained everything. I felt a lump form in my throat as I realized how deeply her priorities had shifted. It wasn't about the bag, it was about the lack of respect and care for my health, for me. In that moment, I knew we had reached a breaking point. After this argument, I left the apartment immediately. I felt like the ground had been ripped from under me. The betrayal wasn't just about the money, it was about my life, my health, and the person I thought I could trust with everything. The next day, I made the hardest decision of my life. I packed a few belongings, and when Emma returned home, I told her that our relationship was over. Her initial reaction was shock, followed by a desperate attempt to apologize, but I didn't care anymore. I needed to prioritize my health and well-being, and staying in this relationship no longer felt safe or supportive. The aftermath was chaotic. Emma's family began calling me incessantly. They asked me to reconsider my decision. They said Emma was struggling to pay for the apartment and needed my help. They painted her as a victim of circumstances, pleading for understanding. Despite their heartfelt pleas, I felt no inclination to reconcile. My decision was not driven by anger, it was about self-preservation. I had endured enough stress over the years trying to balance our finances, only to find that the person I loved was willing to sacrifice my health for a designer bag. I was firm in my response: if they wanted to cover the apartment expenses, Emma should sell the designer bag she had purchased with the money from my insulin. Their silence on that suggestion was deafening. It was clear they were not interested in practical solutions. They wanted to shift the blame onto me, as if my decision to end the relationship was a betrayal of some unspoken duty. Eventually, I cut off all contact with them. I didn't want to hear how heartless and cruel I was. I set aside my pride and asked my sister for money. I told her everything that had happened. She had never liked Emma, so she was relieved that I had broken up with her and gladly helped me cover my expenses. I was grateful for the support, but the thought of Emma and the future we had planned, now a shattered dream, left me heartbroken. Well, Emma, I hope it was worth trading a loving partner for a handbag. My husband abandoned me when I was pregnant, the moment his ex decided to come back into his life. I, 28 female, met my husband James, 29 male, at the very end of 2018/very beginning of 2019 when he had just moved to Washington for a change of scenery. We met at my job's New Year's party when my boss, who's an old family friend of his, introduced us and I immediately felt a connection. Even after my boss moved on to introduce him to my coworkers, I noticed James kept looking at me. Towards the end of the party, he approached me, asking for a tour of the city since he was new in town, which was code for a date. It didn't take long until we started dating and he eventually took me to Boston, where he lived before he moved, to visit his best friends and introduce us to each other. They were super nice to me, but I could see that something was off with the way they kept throwing weird glances at James. As the evening went on, I managed to hear the name Willow being whispered in between them. Later, when we were getting ready to go to bed in the guest room, I asked who Willow was and James immediately froze before he told me all about her. She had been his first love. They met during high school, started dating when they were both 16 and their relationship ended right before he moved to Washington. Apparently she just left him one day, blocking him and their entire friend group everywhere. I then asked why his friends kept looking at him oddly during introductions and why they kept on whispering about Willow. At that question, James once again seemed to freeze before he grabbed his phone and showed me a picture of her. Turns out we look alike. We look like we could be related, which explained both why he kept staring at me from across the room when we first met, which before knowing that his ex and I looked similar, I simply had it pegged for good old attraction, and why his friends kept quietly mentioning her to each other upon meeting me. I didn't blame him for having a type, but if I'm being honest, it hurt thinking he only started dating me because I look like his ex. But like a fool, I believed him when he promised that although he was initially attracted to me because of my resemblance to Willow, he did fall in love with me and was fully over her. Eventually, in early 2023, James proposed and we soon got married in a very small ceremony, with just immediate family members and close friends in attendance. And just 4 months ago I found out that we're going to have a baby. When I broke the news to James, he was absolutely over the moon. And he was even more excited when we found out we're having a boy. Well, one morning last week he got a call that left him shaken. I asked him what happened but didn't get any answers as he abruptly got up and left. As I watched him drive away in his car, I started to panic. I tried calling him, but when he wouldn't pick up, I called one of his work friends and then his brother to find out if anything happened at work that he was urgently needed for or if anything happened to anyone in their family. When the answers to both were no, I decided to contact one of his Boston friends. Since I don't have any of their numbers, I had to contact them via Instagram DMs. I tried one and waited. No reply, so I tried another one. And then another one. But it wasn't until the following morning that I finally got an answer, which only said, "Willow's back." The moment I read that message, I truly felt my blood run cold as I realized he had gone back to Boston to go see her. Literal years of trying to convince myself that he wasn't with me only because of my resemblance to Willow, only for him to run back to her the moment she decided she wanted to be in his life again. I've been agonizing over this situation since I found out and I truly don't know what to do. I am aware that I should probably divorce him. But I want to at least hear him out once he returns my calls or comes back home before I make a decision. I'd go to Boston to confront him, but I don't think I have the guts to possibly meet Willow. Or worse, see them together. I honestly feel kinda stupid for not seeing this coming. I thought he was happy with me. I thought he was happy we're going to be parents. But apparently he's more happy to run to the woman who ghosted him years ago. My stepson kicked me out and now he wants a handout. I, 37 male, Met my late wife, Rachel, 52 female when she passed, back when I was 26 and she was 45. Our relationship was always looked at with disgust because of the age difference or because people thought it was a shame. I was an immigrant and she was a citizen. Rachel had a son, Peter, from her first marriage. Peter was 18 when I started dating Rachel. I never had a good relationship with him, but I tolerated him for her whenever he came around. On my 29th birthday, Rachel and I got married and lived in her house. 4 years ago, my wife passed away. I was shattered from the loss and barely got through her funeral. But after Peter found out that my wife had given him the house, he wanted me out. I knew about Rachel's will and wasn't really interested in the house. But I was not in the mental state where I could look for other accommodations. I asked Peter to let me stay for just 2 more weeks, but he wouldn't allow it. He wanted the house for himself and his pregnant girlfriend. He also claimed that I had stolen his inheritance because my wife only left him the house and I got the money and investments. He threw my belongings out like it was trash. It was trash for anyone, but for me it was my memory of my late wife. I didn't have any contact with him ever since. But last week was Rachel's birthday and I went to her grave as I do every year since her passing. I saw Peter there. I initially didn't say anything, but he greeted me and asked how I was to start some small talk. I kept my responses short and civil. As I was leaving, he asked me to join him for dinner. I refused, but then he asked for my contact. I gave it to him without thinking much about it. A few days ago he calls me to ask if I was interested in buying the house from him. He wanted the money for his business venture. I suggested him to approach a bank as I couldn't help him. Then he reveals that he already has a loan on the house and wants the money to pay off the loan. He also wants me to continue to let him live in the house after the transaction because, as per him, I should ensure that my grandson, his son, has a roof over his head, as that is what Rachel would have wanted. At that moment I just wanted to punch him through the phone. All the painful memories of my wife came rushing back. The sight of the little trinkets we collected together shattered to pieces was so clearly visible. I have tried to restrain myself and not respond to his craziness, but needed an outlet, so writing this post. My wife left me after she got in shape and now wants to get back together. I am not sure why I am posting this. I probably want some validation as my life turned upside down recently. I, 32 male, was married to my wife, 33 female, for 4 years and we had a great marriage so far. I was madly in love with my wife. She fell into depression mainly due to her job in 2022. I tried to support her in every way and suggested her going to gym or doing any kind of sports to de-stress. I had my own depression episode before we got married and what saved me was going to gym. She agreed to that and we started going there together. I could not go as frequent as in the past since my workload got heavier after my promotion. However, I tried my best to be there with her. She used to be a bit chubby, which I loved, and after seeing some changes with her body, she started to go there regularly. It also helped her with depression and she got better. She looked more confident, got more active in bed and so on. However, after a while that confidence level started to affect our relationship for worse. She started going to the parties and going outside to a point she completely stopped doing her share in the house. That proceeded with me seeing her getting flirty with a guy at a meetup we went. I communicated my feelings to her and she dismissed these. After several of these, I had her sit down with me and told her that she is riding high on her newly found confidence and emotions right now. I clearly stated she should not make decisions or actions according to that confidence right now. I know it well. It was one of my worst traits. I used to be extremely emotionally driven in the past. I suggested we go to a marriage counselor and hell broke loose. She said vile things to me like how she realized she settled down with me after getting better and she could do much better than me. She said I am insecure and other things. This woman used to be sweetest person on the earth and I was shocked after hearing the things she said to me. She filed for divorce the following month and I did not hear much from her other than some lawyer talks. Our court seeing is scheduled to be next month and my lawyer told me there is a high chance it'll be concluded then. There is not much to share. Similar income, only shared asset is our joint account, similar savings and no kids. House is my mom's so it's out of division. I accepted my marriage is going to end like that. But last week she called crying and told me she regrets everything. She apologized over and over again but I felt disappointed. Not angry, not sad but just disappointed. She did not text me nor call me even once since the divorce started. I did not even know where she was since she just left the home. I told her there is no going back now. She has been messaging me non-stop. My family supports my decision and tell me I should not back down. My in-laws were shocked when they heard about the divorce. They are now telling me to rethink everything. I will 99.9% not back down, but as I said, just looking for validation and maybe wanted to vent. I broke my wife and I don't think it is fixable. This happened 6 months ago. And I only chose to talk now because I don't see improvement in sight and I am hopeless. We were at a party. My friend is single and we started talking about love and relationships. My wife and I have been happily married for 7 years. We have 3 beautiful children. She is the love of my life. When I was talking to my friend, I felt like we were on different levels of thinking. His complaints are mostly superficial about how the people he dated looked. I was a bit drunk at that point and said something like, "You don't fall in love with looks. Look at me and my wife, I love her more than anything compared to my ex who was just looks." Everyone went silent and my damage control was worse, so I ended up shutting the hell up. I couldn't get my point across, but even I thought that maybe these thoughts have been in my head but only came out when I was drunk. My wife was shocked. First week she was so angry and wanted to understand what I meant and nothing I said was good enough. I was drunk. I love her. I think she's the most beautiful woman. She thought being drunk made me say my true feelings. Then one morning she just said, "You know, I have never felt as ugly as I have felt this past week. I have always thought I am beautiful." She didn't cry this time, but she hasn't been happy since. I started crying and apologizing, but she was like emotionless. It was the last time she looked at me too. She is taciturn and distant, but only with me. She has lost 20 pounds and she works out 6 to 7 days a week. She never has free time with me. If she's not with the children or her family and friends, she's immersed in some book or has her headphones on. She's always fully clothed now, even in bed. She locks the bathroom door when she takes a shower. She is more active on social media too. She shares many pictures of her. And she thanks everyone who gives her a compliment. Before, it was just pictures with our children and pets, but now it's her working out in sports bras and tights. I broke her and I don't know how to fix it. My husband just left me because he's been hit on by a woman for the first time in his life. I am so angry at, I don't know, everything. Right now. And this feels so fucked up. I don't even want to talk to my BFF about this right now. It hurts too much. My husband just told me he is leaving me and I can't believe the reason. I need to give some background. I am 34 female and my husband is 38 male. We've been married for almost 2 years, have dated 2 years before that, so overall a bit more than 4 years. He's always been very insecure about himself, even though he has a great personality, or so I thought, is generous, caring, can express his emotions and all this stuff. When I got to know him better, I couldn't believe he wasn't taken. In fact, he had only been in 2 relationships in his life, both 5+ years long, though. He told me that's because he's shy and ugly and women don't really want anything from him, like, ever, especially not good-looking ones. I am fairly conventionally attractive and he has kept telling me for the past years how lucky he feels to finally have found his dream woman and then her being as attractive as me. I was wary at the beginning, though, so I let him court me quite a bit before going out with him for the first time, etc. I really was fearing for some dark secret of his that I just hadn't uncovered yet, plus I don't want to look easy. But turns out no, he's a really sweet guy, and just very shy. I also don't think he's ugly. He's not in any way super handsome or so, and frankly, originally I thought he was not my type, but his charm melted all of that away quickly. Once we started thoroughly dating, things went fast, because it all was so wonderful. Well, apparently a while ago he was on his own in the outside area of a restaurant having lunch when this woman went by, and apparently struck up a conversation with him. He's shown me a picture of her since I asked him, and she is drop-dead gorgeous. Maybe I am exaggerating because I am so mad, but she definitely looks better than me, I have to admit. Frown. He didn't tell me much about what they talked, just that she was very friendly, and they exchanged numbers, and started texting more and more often. He says she at some point openly started pursuing him even though she knew he was married, saying she just really fell for him and can't let this opportunity pass. He said that he was hesitant once he realized that she was hitting on him, and he was also excited because this literally has never happened in his life. In the past, he repeatedly said that women, at least attractive ones like me, have it easy, because we can lean back and let the guys approach us, whereas for him it was always hard work to even get a single date. I always replied that it's not really like that and that being attractive has its own problems, but he then always reminded me of the fact that he had to work really hard to get me to date him, too. He swears he has only met her one more time, for lunch, after the first encounter, and that he thinks it is not yet an affair. However, he thinks he wants to go forward with her, because, as he put it, this is the first woman who is genuinely interested in me. I didn't have to text her for 3 months to get a date or anything. I can't let this pass. Or something along those lines. My memory is a bit hazy. The 3 months refers to the time it took him to get a date with me, BTW. And that is why he says he is breaking up with me. He says it's the right thing to do, because he wants to continue contact with her, but also feels doing that would be emotional cheating and he doesn't want to cheat on my, so he ends it before actually starting something with her. I feel devastated. I know there's nothing I can do. I want to be mad at him, but I am also mad at myself. I really liked him when we first met, why did I give him a hard time? If I had said what I wanted back then, if I had pursued him instead of playing hard to get, he probably wouldn't be interested in that woman. But I always felt if a woman does that, she shows she's easy and I didn't just want to get laid, so I thought I must act that way. And now it is biting me in the butt frown and I of course am very mad at him, but he didn't even cheat on me. He's behaving exactly the way I always say people should act when they fall in love with someone else. Ugh. I kinda wished he had actually cheated on me with her. That would actually make it easier. Thanks for letting me rant. Edit. Wow, this blew up so much. First, thank you all so much for your comments. This is much appreciated. And also some of you made me really think. I still feel this was unwarranted, and if he was so unhappy he should have told me. But I guess I wasn't as good of a wife as I thought. I didn't really show him that I love him, and why, and didn't put in much effort, and someone said he was starving for attention and I guess that's my fault in a way. Ugh. Still, I think just dropping me like this isn't right. I managed to get the courage to talk to my BFF, and we'll meet later so I can tell her everything, and she spontaneously will take me out for a spa weekend. I hope I can get my head clear there. I was so scared, but she was not at all condescending, she's the best. I feel like I couldn't have mustered up the courage for that were it not for all your support, so thank you all so much, even the critical ones.